We have talked about the economic situation of the United States during the Gilded Age. It's industrializing, it seems like it's being more prosperous, but we also have noted that there are some things that are rotten inside, right? Let's now talk about politics during the Gilded Age, particularly the politics between the years 1877 and 1896. When we talk about leadership, American political leadership, we usually think it comes from the presidency, but they did not get the leadership from the presidency. When you think about it, the presidents of this era, for the most part, are forgettable, right? Not because they're bad people, but mainly because of the fact that they're bad leaders. Can you name any president that was president of the United States between 1877 and 1896? It's very hard to do, right? Well, let me go down the list, particularly when it comes to 1880. In 1880, there was a president named James A. Garfield. I think the cat is more famous than Garfield himself, than the president of the United States, don't you think? Then he's followed by Chester A. Arthur. How in 1884, Grover Cleveland? Well, I mentioned him in a previous video, so you're cheating. But nevertheless, he's the closest thing to a leader. In 1888, we get Benjamin Harrison. And in 1892, we get Cleveland again. The only thing that makes Cleveland a leader was that he stood for honesty and efficiency in government. It's this character trait that would gain him the presidency on two different occasions during a period that was characterized by corruption in politics. Remember, for you trivia buffs, Grover Cleveland is the only president of the United States to serve two non-consecutive terms. So if the president was not the real power in the politics at the time, who was? Well, Congress. Since the impeachment of Andrew Johnson, Congress had a lot of power. Political bosses were also powerful, as well as the people who ran the political parties, people behind the scenes. What they operated was the spoils system. Now, if you haven't taken History 1301, you probably don't know what the spoils system is. And it's derived from the idea of to the victor goes the spoils. In terms of the fact that when you become president of the United States, you get to go ahead and appoint the bureaucracy of the federal government that thinks like you. This has been going on for a very long time. But by the time we get into the 1880s, it becomes even worse. It becomes very bad. And eventually, it actually even costs the life of a president in 1881. James A. Garfield was shot because of the fact that he did not give a job to a person that thought that he was indispensable in Garfield's victory. So he kills the president over the spoil system. Once this occurs, finally something is going to be done to try and curtail the effects of the spoil system. In 1883, the Pendleton Civil Service Reform Act is passed, and it created the civil service. Roughly speaking, what this amounts to is that people would take exams and be put on lists according to how they did, and they would be appointed to jobs. They cannot be fired because the party that hired them was replaced, right? And this starts out at about 10% of federal jobs, and over time it grows and grows and grows. So about 70% of federal jobs are actually protected through the Pendleton Civil Service Act. Now, the jobs that are policymakers are not a part of this. These are jobs that are needed to keep on changing because elections are going to vote policymakers out. But nevertheless, there are serious issues during this time period that could have been picked up by Congress, and they weren't. For the most part, political issues during this time period were emotional issues. Things like Republicans saying, "We saved the Union," and from those Democrats. Things like this. Both parties are going to preach laissez-faire, non-interference in the economy and in the society.